Hey everyone, welcome to Hammer and Honey Ministries. This is Sister Chanel, and this video will actually be a bit of a brief testimony. I'll be sharing my testimony and some thoughts actually on a recent situation. So, I was listening to another YouTuber recently, and she said, I noticed, she said, something is happening all over the country. She said, there's not a single part of the country where something crazy isn't going on. And that is absolutely true. I feel like since the new year started, yeah, I'd say toward the end of 2024, things were getting crazy. But yeah, even since the new year started, it's just been a lot of tragedy in the news. A lot of crazy things have been happening. A lot of dark things have been happening. And even up until now, you're seeing in the news all the fires in California. It's like a lot of craziness is going on. And I don't know if this is, we're in the end times. And I don't know if this is just the end times ramping up. I don't know if it's, the pale horse of death. I don't know. I don't know, if this is just, I don't know exactly what this is. It feels strange. It kind of feels like something's going on in the spiritual realm. So, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot going on. And actually, my mom and I have been a part of some of the craziness that's been going on. You may have heard a story recently in the news. There was a city in the state in the United States, and a major city in that state. So I think it was last weekend, there was snow. I think it was like maybe 3 inches of snow last weekend. And apparently, this 3 inches of snow was enough to cripple an entire major city's water system. A bunch of engineers came on, the news, and they were saying this never should have happened. It was an absolutely bizarre, catastrophic failure. The 3 inches of snow caused a power outage, and somehow the power didn't come back up, or it came back up and then it went back out, and then the water treatment plant flooded, and then this knocked out a major city's water treatment plant, and that actually caused several counties in this in this state, to be without water. And unfortunately, my mother and I were a part of that. So we were part of this whole no water fiasco. And so I think for most people, for a lot of people, the lack of water started on Monday, this past Monday. We heard about it on the news. We heard that several people, several residents were without water. We had water on Monday. So we didn't, we felt sorry for those people, but we didn't think anything of it. We didn't think okay, that's unfortunate, but that has nothing to do with us. We're thinking that's a done deal. We didn't think that it was spreading. We didn't think that, okay, you might have water now, but it's coming to you. So, because Monday, we noticed Monday evening, the water pressure was a little bit lower than usual, but, we didn't really, again, I didn't think anything of it. So come Tuesday morning, I woke up, I work from home, and I woke up and, went to brush my teeth and go downstairs and get my coffee, and there was no water. Not a drop, bone dry. And I thought, oh my goodness. So, of course, I went to the television, I'm looking at the news, I'm trying to find out what's going on, and I find out that we are part of that whole water treatment plant fiasco, and there's no water. So, okay, we're trying not to panic. The mayor was on and he was like, oh, we're working on it. We're going to do everything to get it fixed. You should have water. This is Tuesday morning. You should have water we're going to try to get it fixed by Tuesday afternoon. By Tuesday afternoon, it should be fixed. So, obviously it was annoying, but, it's like, okay, and I was even trusting God. I'm like, God, I know you're going to get this fixed. I know, thank you, Lord, that, this isn't going to be, a big deal. It's going to be fine. When you don't have water, it's funny how you don't think of all of the ways that it impacts your life. I mean, of course, you can't brush your teeth. You can't wash your hands. And I'm a big germaphobe, so I wash my hands constantly. So, not being able to wash your hands is weird. Obviously, when it comes to bodily functions, you can't do certain things or you don't want to do certain things because that'll make it even more disgusting. So, I was trying to kind of like monitor and control my bodily functions because we couldn't flush the toilet. So that was a major issue. And of course, not being able to flush the toilet is a major issue. You can't bathe. It's really disgusting. Not having water is just a nightmare. So, like, we're trying to just deal with it. My mom, she's trying to deal with it. She was really uncomfortable, because like I said, where our bodily functions are limited. And so, we're trying to just, deal with it. So, this was Tuesday. By Tuesday afternoon, the water still hadn't kicked in. So I was actually really tired. I was annoyed. I was tired. And so I actually went to bed early Tuesday mid afternoon. I'd say I was in bed around like 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I'm hoping that, okay, the mayor kept saying by Tuesday afternoon, you should have water. And so I'm thinking when I wake up Wednesday morning, we're going to have water. So I go to sleep Tuesday. I wake up Wednesday morning. There's no water. Okay, now I'm really starting to like really feel it. I'm like, okay, this is insane. So, I was in a really bad mood, because I was like, I wanted to go to a hotel. My mom didn't want to go to a hotel. She just, she's older. She just doesn't want to, be bothered with that. So at this point, the Lord had just, I believe he was just encouraging me, go out there and get some snow. We were fortunate that there was snow on the ground. Praise God. So, there was snow and there was ice. So I was able to, go out there. I grabbed, a bucket and I had a pot and I'm just grabbing up snow, bringing it into the house, melting it, putting it into a tote, putting it into, other receptacles. And we finally had enough snow to flush the toilets, which was great. That kind of made it a little bit easier. I'm a germaphobe, like I said, and I just don't like, no, it wasn't number two, thank goodness, but even number one, you don't want that just sitting in the toilets. I was just glad that we were finally able to start flushing the toilets. We finally had enough water to do that. I wasn't worried so much. We weren't really too worried about drinking water because we did have a couple of bottles of water, in the house before the, water went out. We also recently had a engagement party for a cousin, so we had a bunch of iced tea left over. We had some non-alcoholic beer. We had non-alcoholic champagne. So we had, some beverages to drink. So it wasn't, it wasn't in terms of thirst. We were okay. Now we were able to flush the toilet. And, my mom and I we are on the first day on Tuesday. We were both kind of upset. We were both kind of in a bad mood. By Wednesday, I was thanking God. I was thanking and praising God that we had snow, to melt. And now, we had water to flush the toilet. Praise God. So, things got a little bit better by Wednesday. And I'm hoping and praying that by Thursday, everything will be okay. So I wake up on Thursday morning. There's no water. Oh my goodness. So, and the bad attitude started coming back and getting a little bit irritated. And I'm like, and I'm like, God, why are you letting this drag out? God, why aren't you fixing this? I was trusting you. I'm praying and hoping, I'm believing and hoping for you to fix this. Why aren't you fixing it? Now, thank God the mayor had said they were working on it. They were working on it. And they were saying that, oh, by Thursday, you should start to see water. So this was around, I'd say maybe Thursday mid morning, maybe around by 10 o'clock, we were slowly beginning to see a trickle of water coming in. Oh my goodness. Okay. So now that was progress because it was bone dry. There was absolutely nothing coming out of the tap. So a trickle was definitely promising. So, as the day wore on, the trickle got a little bit better. They said the pressure would increase gradually over the hours. And so the trickle became a small stream. And then the stream started to slowly get a little bit bigger and bigger. And I'd say by the end of Thursday night, it was pretty much just about back to full pressure. It was still slightly weak pressure, but it was, we were able to wash our hands. We were able to flush the toilet. We were able to take a shower. It was like kind of basically life was pretty much back to normal by Thursday evening. So we went about 2.25 days without water. which was an absolute nightmare. So, there were many thoughts that I had and takeaways from that. My mom and I were discussing kind of where's God? Why do bad things happen to Christians? And I think also, how much comfort should a Christian expect in life? And this was something that my mom and I might revisit. I think that it's a topic that's interesting. I think that American Christians, especially, we are used to a certain amount of luxury, and we're used to a certain amount of ease. And so, yeah, I think that when a curveball is thrown to an American Christian, especially, like, they don't know necessarily how to respond. I think that Christians in developing countries where things, resources are more scarce, and, things don't just come easily to you, maybe they're more resourceful, and they can figure out ways to get water, and they can figure out ways to get food. And I think that that's a great thing. I think that American Christians are really kind of at a disadvantage, especially I am, post-trib. I'm a post-tribulation believer. So I think especially when it comes to, going through the tribulation, I think American Christians are the least prepared. Many of us do not have those survival skills. Where do you get water if you don't have it? How do you get food if you don't have it? What do you do? So yeah, I do think that, I think about the wise and the foolish virgins, and I think that, maybe being prepared is something that Christians need to start thinking more about, especially as we go into these end times in these last days. But also, again, I want to just, encourage you and emphasize God does provide, and be thankful in all things. Don't be thankful for all things. We weren't thankful for the situation, but we needed to be thankful in the situation. Like I said, when it came, by Wednesday, I was truly thanking and praising God that there was snow on the ground. Not only that, not only was there snow and ice on the ground, that was miracle number one. Miracle number two was that God kept the temperature low. The temperature never got higher than 32. It never got higher than 32. So the snow and the ice remained all day. And I was literally out there, I would say pretty much from morning until night. I think I didn't stop until like 11:30 at night. I was out there gathering ice and snow. It reminded me of the Israelites gathering the manna. I was out there on my hands and knees, digging up ice and snow to melt, to flush the toilet. And I really am grateful to God that that was an option, that that was available. Because what if it wasn't? Things would have been much worse, not to get too graphic, but yeah, like I said, you have to kind of control your bodily functions in a situation like that. And so, once we were finally able to flush, it certainly made life a lot easier. And I'm not going to go into detail, but yeah, had we not had that snow and ice, it would have been much worse. Had the temperature rose and it all melted, it would have been much worse. God kept the snow and ice and the temperature low until the water returned. So, we actually have leftover. We have a tote downstairs that's full of snow water that was melted. We have a whole, thing of water that we didn't need because, we had enough, from that until the water returned, so that, we didn't need any extra. And that was amazing. So I am just so grateful to God. God is good. And recognizing that God is good, and he will see you through, even difficult situations. And again, I want us to discuss probably in a future post, how much comfort should Christians expect? I think that it's an interesting discussion. It's an interesting debate. I think that American Christians are maybe too spoiled and maybe too used to ease. And I'm not even sure that that's biblical, because Paul talked about, being shipwrecked. Paul was stoned. Paul went through a lot of things, and he was an amazing believer. So, it's not that you have a lack of faith or that you're a bad Christian if you go through difficult times. I wonder, how much comfort and ease should Christians expect in this life? And that's something that I do want to discuss and talk about. And maybe you can give your thoughts on that as well. And I think that maybe American Christians are too accustomed to everything being easy. And so when something is difficult, circumstantially, American Christians sometimes go all to pieces. And, we maybe need to just start trusting God in and through everything. And I think that that's, he says he'll, when you go through the fire, when you go through the water, not that it won't happen, but he'll see you through it. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that testimony and share that, we didn't pass the test with flying colors. I think that we could have done much better in the situation. We didn't do horribly, but we didn't do as well as we could have. But it was certainly for me, that the snow and ice being there and the temperature being what it needed to be, that was kind of a mini miracle that I think that God showed us. The fact that we had an engagement party a couple of weeks ago, we had all of that, iced tea left over, we had all of that non-alcoholic beer and non-alcoholic champagne left over. We had a bunch of beverages left over because they were giving out bottles of water at various locations, but the lines were just wrapped around the block. People were waiting for hours and hours and hours to get that. I heard one story of like almost a mini fight, not a fight, but like I think one person, had some water and some person came and just yanked it out of their cart or yanked it out of their truck. Like it was insane. Like the temperature, the people's moods and temperatures were starting to flare a little bit, I think. So things were getting a little bit heated. So, my mom and I, we weren't even sure if we wanted to kind of deal with that and try to go out there and wait 4 or 5 hours on a line to get a case of water. So we had beverages already, which was great. So God was just, I think really amazing. And he showed up and he carried us through that insane situation. And so, yeah, that's just my encouragement to you to just trust God no matter what, and that he'll see you through no matter what, and to maintain a good attitude no matter what. I was just looking at Exodus chapter 17. It was when the children of Israel journeyed, through the wilderness, and they came to a spot when they didn't have water. And it says in chapter 17, verse 6, it says, "Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb." I believe this is the Lord speaking. "And thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink." And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massa and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" So that, yeah, that's powerful. And then it's kind of, it's really deep. It's like that was kind of my attitude. Like, is God among us or not? Why is he letting this happen? Why don't you fix this? Why don't you bring the water back faster? Why? And so, yeah, my attitude wasn't as great as it could have been. And, like I said, even the fact that we didn't lose water on Monday, some people had it worse than we did. And, so I'm grateful that, our situation was shorter than other people's. But yeah, just we need to be reminded to just trust God in everything. Don't always expect everything to work out as perfectly as maybe you want it to, or you think it should, or you think it, but even if circumstances don't work out perfectly, God will see you through, but you have to continue to love him and trust him. Don't get an attitude. Don't start doubting. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you helping? Why don't you do this? Why don't you fix that? How can you let this happen? It's like, okay, is the Lord among us or not? It's like, yes, he's with you and he will see you through, but don't let your love for him cease because you go through some difficulty. Don't let your love for the Lord cease because there's a monkey wrench thrown into the situation that you weren't expecting. There's a wrinkle in the circumstances. Satan's there and he's going to do things. He's going to harass the believer. He's going to do things to, make people's lives harder. But as long as the Lord is on our side and we continue to love him and trust him, he will see us through. So that's all I have for now. Thank you for listening. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.